Hello YouTube and welcome to What the Math. In today's video we're going to be finally starting the Grand Tour of Kerbal Space program, and this right here is Jebediah Kerbin. Alright, he's ready to go. I have my kind of a delivery spaceship. This is not what I'm actually going to be using for my Grand Tour. This is my delivery spaceship that is going to take me to my actual spaceship that is currently orbiting around Kerbin, somewhere out there, I don't know where. But before we do that, let's go say goodbye to our friends, because they're probably gonna miss us, so let's go say goodbye to them. My dear friends, it is I, Jebediah Kerbin. I'm saying goodbye to you, for I may not see you for something like 40 years according to my calculations, and possibly even longer, especially if we make mistakes. So, stay healthy and don't die, please, and, you know, be the best you can be, especially you, Bill Kerbin. I love you so much, let me give you a smooch. Mwah. And then you, Bob Kerbin, you should also get a smooch on the cheek. And you, whose name I do not know because I just randomly picked you from a list of characters, you seem very, very happy to see me. So I'm happy to see you too. Alright, goodbye guys. I'm going to go ahead and get onto my spaceship, and please don't cry for me. I'm not going to turn back. I'm gonna just go and launch my spaceship. So let's get into space, and in this particular episode, which I guess you could call episode 1, which is not technically 1, because 1 was before that, but this would be the official episode 1. This is where we're going to launch our spaceship toward Eve. This is our first destination, because Eve lander is ridiculously heavy. Now, my actual spaceship, which I'll show you once we reach the orbit, is approximately, actually almost exactly 400 tons, and it took me quite a while to launch it there. That's one of the reasons I'm not showing you how I launched it, is because it was so demanding on my computer that I was literally launching it at like 2 frames per second, and that's not even filming. So you can imagine how slow it would be if I filmed it. And also my game crashed quite a lot of times, so I decided that it's better to be safe than sorry, and just to show you the final product than to actually go through the whole process of launching the monster that you'll see in a second. Alright, goodbye guys, I'm going to go now, and please take care of my pets. My 2 goldfish need to be fed twice a day. They will probably be dead when I come back. Now this is a really simple launcher that I'm going to be using to get into space. And by space I mean orbit around Kerbin. Specifically 800 kilometers above Kerbin, that's where my spaceship is. And we're using Rapier engines because they are a lot more effective at getting us to that particular location without using too much fuel. So we're gonna go ahead and get into orbit using nothing but Rapier engines and this tiny little propeller engine right here. What is that called actually? Oh, this is a Rockomax 487S, my favorite engine in the game. And this will get us to the required circular orbit of 800 kilometers above Kerbin, where our huge monster of a spaceship is. Now I am going to be using Flight Engineer to measure my fuel intake and leftovers, mostly because it's really difficult otherwise. So this is probably the only mod that I'm actually going to be using, except of course things like atmospheric mods that added a little bit of flavor to the visuals in this game. So hopefully you enjoy this series, as it's going to be a pretty long series where we explore the entire Kerbal system using just 1 spaceship and 1 pilot, and a lot of possible mistakes on my part, where we're gonna screw up a lot, and you're going to be laughing at me. Alright, so let's get into orbit. We're about to lose our air-breathing engines, and we are about to switch to the closed mode. Look at this beauty. It's going so fast already. I love this design. Alright, so it's about to turn into the closed design any second now. So as soon as it starts moving around too much. Here we go. Oh, look at that. We're going 1700 meters per second, and it's still in the air breathing mode. What a wonderful design. Anywho. And here we go. So let's get into our final approach. I'm going to use up all of my fuel and release these 2 engines, and then get into the orbit that I need to have for my rendezvous with my space monster station thing. Release the engines and engage the last engine. Required altitude of, let's start with 750. This is my space station right here. It's called Grand Tour Final, because that's the final version of my Grand Tour design. This will be circular orbit. and let's get it done. So I'm going to skip the part where I circleize the orbit and rendezvous with the spaceship, because that's probably going to take me a few minutes, possibly half an hour actually, because rendezvous and encounters are quite time consuming. So we're going to skip this part. You get to see the final result. Goodbye, Kerbin. Thank you for all the fish, and hopefully see you in about 40 to 60 years. If all goes well, I'll still be alive and in one piece. Sincerely yours, Jebediah Kerbin. Alright, so, oh, look at how far we are already. So beautiful. Alright, okay, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes until the final burn, 2 minutes. Okay, let's slow down a little bit. It's going to be a 30-second burn, so we're going to start burning at approximately 15 seconds. Right around here. Alright, here we go. This is to circleize our orbit, and then we're going to try to get a rendezvous with our spaceship. And we're gonna abandon this capsule. It's not actually needed for us, for our purposes. We have a much better capsule where we are going. And I'm going to be using a very complex design, if I may say so. It's a modular design that took quite a while to design. And I kind of talked about this in the previous video. And if you haven't watched it, you'll see it in a second. You'll see the actual design in a second. As soon as I circleize this thing. And here we go, here we go, here we go. Alright, good enough. Okay, let's look for a rendezvous. I'm gonna use the Hawkman's maneuver to try to rendezvous with this spaceship. Let's set it as a target. And here we go. So I'm gonna try to find a good intercept so that we can actually meet the spaceship. And it looks like we have an intercept at 9.2 kilometers right here, so I'm going to go with that and try to approach the spaceship from this particular location. So let's use our Jebediah Kerbin's abilities to try to navigate our way closer to the spaceship. Starting, I think now would be a good time. So this is how, if you have never done this before, this is how you do it. So as you approach your target, you usually have a new speed in relation to target now. So all you have to do is find the retrograde vector, which is right here, and try to decrease your speed in relation to the target. I have quite a lot of fuel to waste here, so I don't have to worry about fuel too much. I'm going to decrease this to as little as possible, and then position myself toward the target, which is actually this purple thing right here. I'm going to aim myself toward the target, so this is right there. So, there you go, this is the spaceship, and move my prograde velocity vector, which is the yellow thing, and align it just like this, in such a manner that the yellow thingy is sort of like around the pink thingy, which is the scientific term for these two things, if you didn't know. Anyway, I can actually move a little bit faster. I'm currently moving really slow. This is like a more careful approach. You can move faster if you want, and this will actually also help you align the orbit of your spaceship with the spaceship that you're trying to dock with. So as you try to realign these, you'll actually be able to approach the spaceship a lot safer. But you can see it's actually going to misalign a little bit, so you have to stop once in a while and realign them again. Mostly because you don't actually have a perfectly aligned orbit yet, but this will actually make it perfect. So alright, so let's wait for us to get closer and you'll start seeing the beast. I don't actually have a name for it yet, and if you have a really good name, please post it in the description below so that we can start using that name instead. But for now, let's just call it Kraken, and you'll see why. You'll see why I call it Kraken just for now. Alright, so 15 meters per second, that's actually pretty fast, but that's okay. And suddenly my game is very slow, because it suddenly started to render the spaceship, and there's approximately 520 parts in it, which would explain why my game is suddenly at like 2 or 3 frames per second, or very slow. For those of you who are not familiar with frames per second. Anywho, so let's slow down and use our best abilities here to try to approach this really safely, so that we don't actually destroy anything before we even start the mission. And so as you can see, I've decreased my speed, and I'm currently approaching the spaceship at approximately 5 meters per second, and it's sort of like you can see it in the distance. And I'll give you a little tour before we start, just to show you what it's like. And I feel bad wasting all this fuel. I actually could have maybe used a little bit less, or even save this and take it with me, but unfortunately my tank's already full. I actually made sure that as I launch my spaceship, I don't use any of the other fuel, so it doesn't really need any more fuel. But here it comes. It's so big that you already can see it from a distance of 1.6 kilometers. It's a little speck right there, and by little I mean a big speck. So okay, let's wait a little bit longer to get closer to it. And the excitement on Jebediah's face cannot be hidden, because he is as excited as I am to start this grand tour. The spaceship is coming closer into view. It's about a kilometer away. Now this is basically what I'll be doing for every single docking procedure. I'll be doing this very, pretty much manually, very slowly, most likely cutting a lot of this footage, mostly because it's not really fun to watch. But I'll put the important parts in, and also the parts where I screw up and everyone dies. That will happen. I'm pretty sure it will happen. But by everyone, of course, I mean my main pilot, Jebediah Kerbin. And here it comes. Here comes the spaceship into view. So this is the unofficially named Kraken. And why is it called Kraken? Well, let's find out. Let's get closer to it first. We're only about 50 meters away from it. I'm still using the spaceship mostly because I don't want to waste my EVA, as I've made a decision of not including any capsules on the spaceship, meaning that my EVA will actually most likely will not be refueled throughout this trip. So I have to be really careful with it. Although chances are we might actually have to do something about it later. And here he is on his first EVA of the trip. So let's engage our boosters and proceed to explore the beautiful Kraken. And it's called Kraken because it kind of, if you look at it from this angle, kind of looks like some sort of an octopus looking device thing that is really dangerous to fly and possibly not very safe for his life. But as it is, it's actually a very highly packed, neatly designed, multi-stage, multi-everything modular spacecraft. This is the main module that will I'm going to be sitting in, and we're actually going to be spending 40 years in a chair. There's not going to be any capsules. It's just going to be a chair because we're tough Kerbals, so we can handle it. Then there's all these modules attached to it on the side. These will be used for various landings on various other planets. This one here is for, I believe it's for Tylo, and this one here, right here, these are parachutes for Lathe. As someone pointed out, that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. Apparently E is silent, even though I prefer to say Lathe. Sounds better. All of these engines, this right here, this huge piece, this is essentially the Eve lander. This will disappear after the first mission. It will just be a very tiny leftover with the nuclear engine right here behind this jettisonable pack. And these are the nuclear fuel tanks. And also there is a huge, or I guess not huge, but long section of four, let me just come closer to them, four long xenon engines, I mean ion engines, that will be also used to propel the spaceship, giving it a total of approximately 30,000 delta V. This right here, the huge orange tanks, they only serve one purpose: to help us get out of Kerbin system, because otherwise it would take me forever to actually launch from here to Eve. These will help us push a little bit faster. They give us a TWR, or thrust to weight ratio, of approximately I think it's like one something, so meaning that we can actually escape Kerbin a little bit faster and get to Eve a little bit faster than we would otherwise. This was very optional, but I decided to add these because why not? And these are actually just modularly attached at the end. There's actually, if I come from this side and if I come closer, you'll see that right here, let me just show you what I mean. Right here in this section right here, these are actually modular attachments. So I can actually remove this and attach something completely different. And there's actually a few sections like that, including the section in between this part and this part. So this engine is also detachable. So I'm going to be losing parts as I go, especially parts that we don't really need anymore. They'll be lost forever because they're just extra weight and they don't really need to be there. So by the end of this trip, all that will remain, especially when we're nearing the stage of like, you know, past Jewel and close, when we get to Elu, all we'll have is really this little tank right here, one tank, and our seat that we'll be using to sit on or in, which is this lander. This is our main lander. Let me just come closer to it, and get into it. I can do it. We can do it. There we go. Board the ship. So this is what we're going to be flying. This is, I guess, let's call it Kraken 1 for now, because I have a feeling this might go wrong and things might get destroyed on the way. But I've actually used a similar design to this before, and I've landed this on Eve many times. So I know this works on Eve for sure. This I'm not so certain about, but I know it has enough delta V to propel us through the Kerbal system. And this is a little bit shaky, which is why there's so many struts everywhere. But we'll see how it goes. Anywho, so I'm going to go ahead and launch my my spaceship. And where's that other capsule? I don't want to smack into it by accident. Is that it? Yeah, there it is. I need to avoid it. And I'm going to start planning my trip to Eve. So here, this is where we're going to be using a website. This is a website I really love to use. I'm going to show it to you in a second. And this website is, of course, the launch window planner for Kerbal Space program by... Who made this? Who is this amazing person? I think his name is Alex Moon, if I remember correctly. But anywho, so this allows you to essentially calculate the perfect window of opportunity for a launch to a certain body in Kerbin, Kerbal Space program. Let's plot this from Kerbin to Eve. It's going to tell us what we need. We need to have only 1061 delta V. That's including, not including the correction, of course. So we'll probably need approximately 1400-ish delta V. And so we need to do this on the, oh boy, year 2, day 160. That's so long. I don't want to wait that long. Okay, that's probably the best opportunity for us. And we do need to conserve our fuel, so that's actually very important. So it will take us 200 days to get there. And the ejection angle is 152 degrees to retrograde. And what that means is, so if we were to look at the map, and if you actually want to do this manually, so basically if you want to plot your intercept manually, which is what I'm planning to do, what you do is you select Eve as a target, so you select it as a target, and then basically according to the planner here, the ejection angle is 152 degrees to retrograde. So this is the direction where Kerbin is moving. Let me just zoom in again, or zoom out. This is the direction where Kerbin is moving. This is the direction opposite. So this is retrograde. So you actually are measuring from this as being 0 degrees. So if you were to use a protractor here, what you would do is, let me just actually use my protractor. I have this on-screen protractor that I like to use for this type of situation, because sometimes the mods don't actually work in this game. So here we go. So this is 0, and we're looking for 152 degrees. So let's set this as center. This is 0 degrees. And right here, somewhere approximately, where is it? Over here. This would be 152 degrees retrograde. Oops. Anywho, so this location right here. So actually where we are right now, this will be 152 degrees approximately. So this is where I'm going to start. I'm going to place a node right here. Add maneuver node. And then I'm going to start playing around with it until it sort of looks like it actually intercepts with Eve. So as soon as it didn't work because I did it too soon. As soon as it intercepts Eve, this is actually where you want to aim for. And then after you escape Kerbal body of influence, the gravitational body of influence, you can actually start doing a little bit of corrections here and there to try to get to Eve with a really good intercept orbit. But here, right now, I can actually start playing with this until we intercept Eve. Somewhere here. Okay, obviously it's not going to happen now because I'm actually not... Yeah, so this would be the actual location, but I have to wait 2 years for this to happen, so there's going to be a bit of waiting time here. So let's actually wait. I'm going to accelerate this, wait for the actual time, and get to that particular position. And this is why I chose to start this from 800 kilometer orbit, because this is the distance from Kerbin where you can use the maximum possible warp speed. Unless, of course, you go to the Space Center and use it there, but I just decided to do it from the actual map, from the actual capsule from within the game. So I think there's maybe a few more months left. No, actually more than that. Longer than that, half a year left before I can start burning and try to intercept Eve. So let's actually wait a little bit until I start the actual process. I did find one orbit where there was an intercept, but it was actually a lot more fuel consuming that I can actually afford, so I had to wait a little bit longer just to start this particular trip, because this is probably the most dangerous, most important, most difficult, and also most likely to fail part of the trip, landing and taking off from Eve and returning safely to our capsule as well. And as the day passes to night and night passes to day, this is basically the beginning of the trip. So I'm going to pause this video as soon as we launch the spaceship toward Eve, and in the next episode we're going to be landing on Eve, and if everything goes right, taking off and reconnecting with our main capsule and continuing our journey. So this is the episode where we start the trip, and this is the beginning of the Grand Tour of Kerbal Space program, or Kerbal Orbital System? I don't know what it's called, you know what I'm talking about, the planet thing with the Kerbals and people and frogs and everything. Anywho, so hopefully I will be able to land on every single body of Kerbal, the star, the sun, and hopefully everything goes right. Everything was planned out really well from my part, not to brag or anything, but I did put some mathematical knowledge behind this, trying to calculate how much delta V I need for everything. But obviously there's always the human, or in this case Kerbal error, so there's some Kerbal stupidity and my own stupidity that might come into play where we actually will fail miserably. Anywho, so let's start the launch. And so right now I started burning my engines at approximately 152 degrees to retrograde. So basically this is opposite of direction of movement of Kerbin, and this is approximately 152 degrees. So I'm going to be burning my engines until I escape Kerbal Pool, and after this we're going to rearrange our orbit a little bit until we get a perfect intercept with Eve. So let's just wait a little bit. This will actually take a few minutes for us to get our orbit high enough so that we actually escape Kerbal Pool. And so begins the trip, the adventure of this happy Kerbal. Jebediah Kerbin is on his beautiful spaceship that has no name, but possibly a name of Kraken or something. So let's get Kraken and get out of here, and I'm sorry for the pun, and I'll never do it again. Hey, let's get Kraken, I kinda like that. Let's actually stick with that. That's gonna be the name of the mission, let's get Kraken. And we just finished our final burn away from Kerbin, so our orbital speed is high enough for us to escape Kerbal Pool. So goodbye Kerbin, thank you for everything, and curb you later, alligator, or something like that. Anywho, so the trip has begun and we are going to get Kraken. Yes, that's the pun I had to come up with just to make this a little bit more interesting. Anywho, so this episode is about to be complete. We have begun our trip to Eve. I'm going to stop this video here, and in the next video we're going to attempt our landing. When I say attempt, we're actually going to land on Eve. We're going to take off from Eve and everything is going to be just perfectly fine, right? Goodbye Kerbin, thank you. And as we're leaving Kerbal system, I would like to say goodbye to you as well and see you in the next video. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and in the next episode, watch me miserably not fail while landing and taking off from Eve on this beautiful, beautiful Kraken spaceship. Thank you for watching, and good luck to you, bye bye.